Hi Taurus, and welcome to your June 2017 General Tarot Forecast. This is Sky, and I'm here to give you guys hopefully another amazing reading for your month ahead. So, wow Taurus, look at all these Wands card that you guys have. You guys have 3 of Wands, 9 of Wands, 5 of Wands, 6 of Wands, and 10 of Wands. 5 Wands cards, more than half of your spread. That's crazy. So I feel like there must be something really new going on with you, a very sudden change in energy for you. I'm not sure that this is super comfortable for you though, because Wands is kind of a foreign element for you. It's correlated with the fire element in astrology, so it's like the energy of Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo. If you guys have some of that native in your chart, it might be familiar, but for a lot of you, you might be feeling a little bit burnt out. I really think that that's the main theme for a lot of Taurus this month. It's either going through the burnout phase or recovering from the burnout phase, and through that, you're like finding how to not go back there again. And I think that that should mainly be your end game right now. It's like, how can you accomplish the goals that you set for yourself, which are so lofty? Side note, it's not really the best time for extremely lofty goals without a really strong purpose. But anyway, my point being, how can you set these lofty goals for yourself, Taurus, without getting really burnt out, putting the elbow grease in to accomplish them? It seems to be coming to you this June how you can do that, and how in life in general you cannot get burnt out. It doesn't necessarily have to be with your goals. I actually think that this can be very relational for you too. You have Queen of Cups, which is really extinguishing some of that fire energy. I think that this has to do with getting burned out in relationships. Everything that comes into your life, which seems really beneficial and really lovely, very pristine to you, that eventually sort of loses its shine or loses its appeal that it once had. I think that's kind of an existential crisis for you actually right now, Taurus. I think you're very unsure of yourself and very maybe even discouraged about the way that you feel about something when it starts versus once it's been running for a long time or it's ending. You have such a different relationship with things when you start things versus when you end things, and that's a very collective thing. Everybody's kind of dealing with that right now, but I really think that you are giving a lot to everybody right now in the way that you begin and end, in the way that you continue to carry out the goals that you set for yourself. There is a lot on your plate one way or another. I believe that Aries also had 10 of Wands as their central theme. So for those of you Taurus who have Aries in your chart, it'll be good to watch that reading as well. It seems like you have to do a lot to make ends meet right now, whether that be financially or emotionally. There's a lot on your plate. Your schedule is very full. And that can be hard during this time of the year as we're about to go into Cancer time, which means that it's really good to relax. It's really good to not be overextended in any way. I feel like you guys are a little bit overextended. And for some of you, it is financially. And it's actually a little bit easier, I think, for the financially overextended Taurus because you can see it on like your bank balance, or you can see it. You actually have to give the money and it's more physical. Like, I think that Taurus is really good at understanding the similarity in financial expense versus emotional expense. Especially the more evolved Taurus, it's your like life's journey to kind of correlate that and to understand that the differences at the same time between those things. I think that you learn a lot about that this month, but I really think that you kind of learn how to step back. I think that you learn how to maybe not take things so seriously, because it seems like every single difficulty that you've experienced recently, I would say in like the last year, since maybe even the last 2 years, but especially since summer 2016, it seems like all the difficulties since then have been because of a need to like micromanage everything, because of a need to make everything predictable, to not sugarcoat it, kind of a control freak type of mentality, needing to make sure that everything is laid out the way that you see fit. Like really, maybe having a difficult relationship with freedom or liberation. Some of you guys might even be very like into civil rights or like women's rights right now, or the very feminist movement type of thing. And you're kind of seeing through that maybe something that's not what you thought it was, or that's coming more. I'm kind of step off of that subject a little bit, but one way or another, you're facing control dynamics and you're facing micromanaging, maybe even workaholic tendencies. And through really pushing yourself into those tendencies, you find that you have to like push that much more out of yourself. You have to spend that much more. It's like you're trying to micromanage and like hyper budget yourself or something, and through doing that you end up spending more. So it's really nice to lay off yourself or kind of loosen the belt in some way during Cancer time, because if you're too tight with yourself or you're too demanding of yourself or others right now, you find yourself in a very uncomfortable place. Because you have Four of Swords in your reading too, which is like you've got to rest, you've got to take some of the pressure off. For a lot of you, I really think it comes down to not overestimating other people's reactions or overestimating how other people should or would react. I think a lot of you have like a fear of people speaking their truth to you. You want that. And you kind of went through a journey, I think, to give it to yourself and to give it to other people. And through that kind of difficult journey that I think that you had, it made it different for you. It's like you want to know people's truth now, but it very much has to be at a convenient time for you. And it should be. Like, that's not really a bad trait, because when you come into a place where you're sort of searching for authenticity, you realize, you know, you can't necessarily shoulder everybody's burdens at a time that's convenient for them. You've got to have your own emotional energy. Queen of Cups being there too says that you're taking time to recharge that. And Ten of Wands also deals with shouldering burdens as well. What do other people need of you right now? What do other people have within themselves that they're kind of forcing you to carry that you maybe don't have the energy to carry right now? It's really good to shed that. It's really good to leave that behind. I think that a lot of you, like last summer, came into a place where you're like, okay, I'm not going to shoulder other people's burdens. I'm going to start living for myself. And it's been a very discouraging thing for you to jump out of a very controlled situation headfirst into one that was equally as controlled in a different way. Maybe it took having a specific amount of freedom or liberation for you guys to taste just how limiting that was for you. That's a very much a Saturn retrograde in Sagittarius principle right now. I hope to make a video on that, guys. I've been talking a lot about that. I just did Cancer's reading, and I talked a lot about the Saturn in retrograde. So if you guys have Cancer, you just want to hear more about that, you should check out Cancer's video. You know, because all that you want right now, Taurus, is to start anew. All that you want right now, okay, there goes my phone. So I'm going to take that as some kind of validation as I put it onto silent, that is very much true right now. You want something new. And I think that you took steps to do that for yourself last summer. But there was something that was what's the right word? There was something that was premature about it, okay? And I'm not like criticizing you guys at all. If I were in that situation, I saw Taurus in very difficult situations. I mean, I would have been running the opposite direction too. But it's like your intention with it all, or freedom was not what you expected it to be, or liberation from those really toxic, vampiristic people was not what you expected it to be. Because you realized like how much within you had gone awry, and you had to like pick up those pieces. You may have thought that it was the other person or other people creating that within you, or that shouldering their burdens was what was making you feel that way. But once you kind of maybe eliminated those people from your life, or they walked away from you, you realized like what you were actually working with. This could have been a very healing experience for some of you, but for some of you, it's been like equally as a damaging feeling, okay? And you know, you have to go through that. It was kind of a healing crisis for a lot of you. Excuse me, guys, I'm losing my voice a little bit. As you guys might be too, because Taurus rules the voice, and it seems like there's something hard to communicate within you right now. It seems like there are people that you want to speak your truth to that you're not able to right now, or that you're very scared of the reaction and scared that the reaction will take you back to square one. You've got to communicate it though, Taurus, and you've got to do it in a way that is not, what do I want to say? It's really boiled up inside of you, I think. I think that there's a lot of feelings that have boiled up, and it can kind of go one of two ways. It's like you're either going to explode onto these people. You know, we're going into Cancer time, which can represent sort of really held up emotions. You're either going to like have a temper tantrum onto other people, or you're going to like scream to them that you love them and try to create some sort of really huge affair or really huge, like, romance novel type of scenario. It's going to be very dramatic. I see like this dramatic communication that's been wanting to come out for a really long time, and you guys really go crazy with it. The best thing to do right now in Cancer time is to kind of try to be consistent, like speaking logically, speaking from the heart. But that's the other thing for you guys right now. What is speaking from the heart for you? Does speaking from the heart entail voicing your anger? Is there like an anger in your heart right now with all these wands cards? Is there a need to feel other people's pain? Because you guys have really hit an empathic part of yourself that you never knew existed. Because Taurus is opposite Scorpio, so inherently you have a very psychic input into other people's emotions and especially their memories. Because Taurus does speak of the long-term memory as well, especially in Cancer time, which we're going into. You guys can feel other people's memories more than they can. And that can create a lot of strange emotional scenarios in all of your deeper relationships. So there's a want right now within you to kind of let all of that explode out of you in almost kind of like a weird orgasmic type of way. And you've got to be careful with that. You've got to be measured, because Saturn in Sagittarius does also encourage that kind of thing. With Uranus and Aries too, yeah, I see how it's all shaping up, guys. There's so many things that are playing into this for you right now, and I hope that I'm articulating it decently, because it's a very, very simple thing, and I find that the more simple they are to articulate, the harder it is to communicate their intensity, because it's a very intense, simple thing. The reality is you have a lot of anger, you have a lot of love, and you have a lot of want to relate. Now, those three things, when they come together like this and boil and come into you in a place where it wants to explode out of you, it's very hard to honor all three of them. Are you going to honor the anger within you? Are you going to honor the sadness? Or are you going to honor the want to relate? You know, you're not maybe going to relate with so many people if you're very angry at them. You're not going to understand the anger if you're crying and like brooding and wallowing in the depths. How do you, Taurus, get through this in a way that you preserve your sanity and at the same time don't ruin the relationships that you do want to keep in your life right now? I really feel that you need to go within in June. It's not, but are you going to be able to is the question. With all of that outwards wands energy. It's so, because it's, and having the Fool too. Okay, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and look at this reading from the week to week, and I'll kind of come back to this question that I'm having about, you know, how you need to go about your communications with other people. Okay, Taurus, so in the first week you guys have 9 of Wands, or you're down by 3 of Wands reversed. It's like you don't know whether to turn your back on some of these older toxic relationships or whether to like pull through and endure them. You know, you really have to turn your back in some way. And when I see like 3 of Wands, which is what I always associate with like turning your back and kind of looking for a new experience to pull you in, it doesn't always mean like leaving people behind. It doesn't always mean like blocking people or pretending that they don't exist, anything like that. In fact, it can really mean the opposite. You know, if you have to make like such an effort to keep people out of your life, then you're really prioritizing their energy in a way that you never did before. That's another gray area that I feel that Taurus has been struggling with recently. It's like, okay, like you might have like blocked people or made all these really big efforts to change the type of people that are around you. And that's really good. That's something that you guys needed to do very badly. But it became more about that than the new people. You know what I mean? It became more about setting the boundary and like the experience of doing that than about like what you were finding on the other side. You have to be able to find something on the other side now. You have to be able to have made it worth it for yourself, because how much you had to prioritize the people that you thought you didn't like, or how much you had to prioritize them or make your life about them to be so, I don't know, angry or something. There's something about turning your back on people and cutting communication, setting boundaries that is kind of haunting you right now. Maybe you kind of want to be back in contact with some of these people. Maybe you want to relate with these people because, okay, here's the thing, and I just got chills, Taurus. It feels like you've been in a situation that was similar to somebody from your past who you kind of left behind. And they did kind of deserve to be left behind. I can definitely see that. But now you're kind of in a place where you would like to reach out or you would like to relate with that person through what you went through. And I think that you're in a very torn crossroads position where you decide, okay, do I risk going back and letting this person in my past back in? Or do I continue forward and hope that maybe I can find something that's more relatable in the future? You have to find a middle ground. It's very like polar opposite contrasting options right now lead us to very polar contrasting very specific ends of the spectrum in the future, and we're all kind of seeking that middle ground, that consistency right now. So how can you relate to somebody from your past without creating some kind of very difficult symbiotic cyclic, darker relationship pattern for the two of you in the future? It does seem possible here. Also in the first week, just on the more obvious, easier to articulate level, you're feeling like tired of your job, or you're feeling overworked or stimulated, overextended again. Some of you guys might be taking on new like exercise regimens or something, and you got to be careful about overdoing it here, especially in June. But you've got to have the exercise. Again, maybe finding the middle ground in more simple things like your budget or your exercise or your job will really help you to understand how to do that in this more deep romantic relationship way. Like some of you seem like overtrained. Maybe you guys are like runners, or you're trying to train for a marathon, or you're trying to really take your athletic persona to the next level. That is for some of you. I do know quite a few like Taurus athletic people. You've got to find more balance. The endorphin rush that you get, or the hormonal or chemical portion to your exercising or what you're trying to pursue, it has to become less about that and more about the logistics of it all. Because it's an addictive period of time with Saturn going retrograde in Sagittarius. You don't really want to become addicted to your running or to your like weightlifting or your whatever, even if, as you can also become very addicted to alcohol or sex or something. It's very easy to become addicted to things, or even simple things like coffee or things that aren't so taboo. It's a very addictive time, so do be careful for the vices that you start right now. Some of you may need to turn your back on some kind of addictive tendency that could be. It seems like your body is not responding as well to the things that you once thought were very good for it, or the things that you once thought were helping it to heal. I do see that some of you might be struggling with a kind of unhealthy tantric side of your personality, and I think that you're wanting to come out of it. I know that that's really been a big part of the Taurus experience that I haven't really talked that much about on my channel. I would like to talk about it more, but it's kind of hard to really hit the tip of the iceberg with it. But a lot of you guys have been having kind of a sexual crisis, understanding like your identity and understanding how you can relate to other people on that level. That's been mainly what it's been about for you when it comes to relating to other people. Most of your relationships have been very good on like the conversational communicative level. You've been very good friends with most of the people that you've been in relationships with, but there's been a very difficult tantric or sexual fidelity and cheating, whether that was you or the other person. That archetype has been in the Taurus condition for a long time right now, and to a point where it feels like you've very much had to hide your heart, or you've had to like break your own heart in an effort to end things with them. And that's really huge for you guys right now too. I think it seems like you feel like you have to break your heart in order to be happy, or in order to experience the rush that you needed in the first place. That could be the addictive cycle as well, attracting in people who will break your hearts, or people that you have to self-sabotage or break your own heart to find your happiness once more. Like, what does it take, Taurus? How much does it take to get into the territory that you want to be in? It's all coming together in that way for you. And it seems like that process of coming together starts to happen in the second week, because you start to kind of get on more of a chronological wavelength here. You have 5 of Wands reversed, you're done by 6 of Wands reversed. In a way, that's not bad, because like 5 of Wands, I know it's one of the cards in the tarot that everybody kind of sees and they're like, that doesn't really look good, because it does represent confrontation. It does represent even petty confrontation. Also competition though. So again, for you athletes, maybe you're going to some kind of competition in the second week. Even in the workplace, maybe there's some kind of competition to get a higher number of sales or something, and it's getting like really heated. It can also be in your relationships. You might feel like you're competing with the other woman, or you're competing with your spouse or the person that you're in the relationship with. And again, this can also represent re-identifying yourself sexually as well with the Five of Wands. So, and coming into a place where you understand more. I do really feel like it's a very big sexual evolution for you guys, funnily enough, this month. With all these Wands cards, I think that's quite like you're winning as much as you thought. It seems like you're winning way more than you ever have. Realize that people are worth more than objects or material, because Taurus is all about material security and resources. So you will do really good to not hold yourself too accountable for that right now. Like, accountability is good. I like accountability. But knowing what you're actually accountable for will be good in June and the second week. Because it's kind of a rude awakening. It's kind of a harsh awakening for some of you guys. And as a side note, really, really great for artistic endeavors. Really great for finding a muse or an inspiration. Wands in tarot are all about inspiration, creativity, artistic endeavors. So having all of these wands in your reading, it is like you can really burst onto the scene, or you can really have some kind of exponential increase in following or admirers or investors. Work, art, creativity, that is extremely beautiful for you this month. But if you're translating all that inspiration or all of that drive into trying to see other people's reactions or create other people's reactions, you're really setting yourself up for a very, very difficult momentum in the future. And this can also take place through the people in your life who aren't really there anymore. Maybe you're having dreams about old exes or people who aren't around very much. It seems like most of them have pretty good closure, Taurus, but it's weird how you can connect energetically right now, and I don't quite even know how to articulate that myself. But pay close attention to your thoughts about the people from your past this month. And if they communicate, pay close attention to how that makes you feel. Like, what reactions is that putting inside of you? Does it make you angry? Does it inspire you? That seems very applicable to your entire energetic spiritual path right now. Into the third week, you guys have Queen of Cups rooted down by the Emperor. I feel like this is where you finally sort of start to extinguish the anger, or you've released something, or I don't know, you've had like a good cry or something, and you kind of wake up to the reality of the situation, or the emotional reality. It really seems like you're going through something that's very similar to what people from your past have gone through, or you're wanting to completely disconnect from that. It's one of the two. You might want to make a huge drastic change right now, like moving across the country or across the world. And it does seem like you have the momentum to do that, and it really can't be bad right now. It is good to relocate right now, but it's not so good to do it on a whim. It needs to be something that you've thought of for a long time with Saturn retrograde. It needs to be something that you might have been saving for a while. So if you're having that thought, like, start saving, and then like set a date for yourself that's realistic with your budget or what have you. And it's good to start things like that right now. And it's good to do it if you actually are ready. But a lot of you need to like let things build, because you might even be feeling a little bit manic or something. Like, you might be making a lot of split decisions to like go out and buy new things or do really huge life-changing events that your budget might kind of actually support right now, but in the doing it too extreme or too much, like, it can't support it. So and the Queen of Cups being rooted down by the Emperor, it's like maybe you might be being a little bit harsh with yourself. Maybe you might be holding too much pressure on yourself for not understanding yourself in the past or understanding other people. Because again, I'm feeling that you went through something very recently that reminded you of something that somebody from your past went through. And it's like you realize maybe that you weren't the best to them at that point in time, and now you're holding yourself like too much responsible. It's good to reach out. It's good to apologize if that's what you need to do. But at the same time, it's better to have just the realization in yourself too. But sometimes the realization will make you want to make it right. So follow your gut with that. Also, be open to the idea that maybe you're being too hard on yourself. A lot of you guys, you're being very like self-effacing and maybe even a little bit petrified feeling, a little bit stagnant, like finding it difficult to move. So the Emperor is always a more stagnating or more structure setting type of energy. So it would be good to do that in a way that has to do with more inanimate things like your projects or your career, like really structure in some good habits or some good new energies into that part of your life. And I think that you'll be happier. All in all, I feel like the third week is about recharging and setting structures into the parts of your life that actually need it and not holding yourself accountable in ways that you can't be accountable. Okay? Fourth week, Four of Swords are done by the Fool. You know, you're recharging still here, all within aims to start a new chapter, to start over. It's really nice to see your reading end with the Fool because you're starting in a very drained place. You're starting in a very unsure, kind of there's a good word for it. Like static place. That's not the word, but that's the idea. You're in a very still, static, unmoving place, very much struggling with the endurance and energy. In the fourth week, I feel that you get through the third week with Queen of Cups and into the fourth week resting with the Four of Swords. You get your idea of what's next. You know, Four of Swords and the Fool, that's about like being still and being contemplative and realizing what you need to do, not necessarily going crazy and not necessarily running full force head on into it. You've got to structure it well with the Emperor coming up. The Emperor is your only major arcana, so structures towards your very assertive actions are needed right now. You need to be a little bit cautious about actions, but you don't have to be cautious in thoughts or in plans or in inspiring, artistic, creative parts of yourself. That doesn't have to have limits right now, but your actions do. So, and that can actually be good. You know, you guys are kind of in a place where it's good to have a little bit of parameters, where it's good to shape things, because I think a lot of you came into a place, like at the beginning of 2017, where you kind of knew no limits in some kind of way. Like you might have had a lot on your plate and a lot to own up to, but something happened to where you were a lot less limited and you were a lot more free. And through that, you felt like that much more trapped. So it seems that through this month, your main goal is to understand how not to feel trapped when you're actually free. I'm rooting for you guys this month. If you would like to have a private reading with me, I think that you can do that on this page right now. It should be the link in the center. If this didn't resonate, you can also watch your sun, moon, and rising sign here, or you can subscribe to my channel. I so appreciate your support, Taurus. You're some of my favorite people. I love you guys, and I'll be talking to you in July. Bye.